Good to have you with us on the Urban Debate. We promised you we will follow up and bring you more on one of the biggest bank frauds of the recent times, and we are going to do just that tonight. This is bigger than the default case of Kingfisher and Malia, ladies and gentlemen. The Punjab National Bank fraud case that could be more than 11,000 crore rupees. We don't know yet. But here is what the problem is. Over 8 lakh crore loans have been declared as bad loans by Indian banks. 8 lakh crore. Many experts say the situation is actually much worse than that. Can you imagine such an amount? Now, to help the banks recover from these losses, the government is helping them with fresh funding. So, 2 lakh crore is the overall recapitalization plan by the government. Punjab National Bank itself is set to raise 5,000 crore rupees. That's not even half of what it's already lost in one scam. So as taxpayers, the money that you give to the government goes to the banks owned by the government, goes to the big corporates who fail to return it back to the banks. Instead, they pack up their bags and they fly away. Is this fair? How long will this travesty continue? Let's debate that. And let's say good evening to Akash Jindal, economist, joining me in my studios along with Mohammad Khan of the Congress Party. I've got Mr. Hemendra Hazari, a banking analyst, joining us from our Mumbai studios. Vaibhav Agarwal, representative of the BJP party. Mr. Jain Gupta, the former director of SEBI. He is also the MD of Stakeholders Empowerment Services. And he's been fighting for rights of investors and stakeholders. And we've also got Mr. R. Gopalan, former Secretary for Financial Services Department in Finance Ministry. Mr. Gopalan, I want to come to you first and thank you for joining us on Mirror Now. And this is a question I've been asking every single expert I've spoken to in the past 48 hours. How does this kind of a fraud happen over a period of 7 years and go unnoticed?
Yeah, it's a very important question you have raised. Possibly there could be system defects, system integration would not have been done, and even if it were done, there could be some loose ends which would not have been tied up properly. The risk assessment of various transactions in the banks would also not have been carried out diligently, and on top of it, there are frauds which you can de-link the system, just as the core banking solution in Punjab National Bank was not accepting or not dealing with the LOUs. This kind of adjustments would have been made, and which audits, internal audits, would not have pointed out. So a myriad set of reasons are possible for this kind of things to happen.
Mr. Gopalan, we are given to understand that for all of these LOUs that were allegedly issued by these PNB officials at the branch level were registered and communicated through the SWIFT platform. And the problem, like you mentioned, is that they weren't getting registered within the core banking system. Now, our sources tell us that this has happened because Punjab National Bank hasn't upgraded its systems to the point where the two must be integrated. The second biggest national bank in our country has such a weak overall system is very concerning, Mr. Gopalan. What should the investor, the saver, and Aam Aadmi make out of that? How weak is the banking system?
The Aam Aadmi would certainly feel cheated. His money ultimately will be go by way of taxation and then capitalization of banks. He will be chased to pay small amounts of loan which he has taken, and he will find that somebody walking away with crores of rupees. Obviously, every taxpayer, every Aam Aadmi will feel totally cheated and slighted. But why it has happened is for a variety of reasons. Now, there are two things to be looked into. One, how to ensure that the systems become integrated and operational functionally. That is number one. Number two, whatever has happened in the past, responsibility has to be fixed. Why these things happen, and suitable action has to be taken. Then only the common man will not feel slighted.
Akash Jindal, there are two problems that I want to discuss
Yes.
tonight. One is that of the attitude. One is that of the way the system treats two different kind of people. If I was a borrower who had defaulted on even one single EMI, I wouldn't get a single paisa out of that bank ever again. That bank, leave alone that bank, maybe no bank is ever going to give me any more money. But if I'm a suit boot chore, a high mighty corporate, I can get extensions and fresh loans and more loans.
Yeah.
So that's the second part. But tell us about the systemic issues that exist in the banking system. Why is it that the taxpayer is having to pay for lakhs and lakhs crores of bad loans?
Firstly, let me congratulate you and your channel that you have reached Mr. Modi, and let me congratulate my dear friend Faye that she has ultimately reached him, and ultimately we know where he is. Now, just answer your question. Yes, this is the point I've been raising for the past 3 days. Now, what has been happening in the past 3 days, I've been doing regular TV shows. What I found very interesting is that there are two main political parties in our country. Political party A is accusing political party B that you did this. Political party B is accusing political party A that you did this. Interesting debates are going on, but what about my money? Somebody commits sin and ultimately I pay for the sins. I'll take you a bit back. Now, when we talk about Vijay Mallya, Mr. Mallya was accused that his companies took loan and then Mr. Mallya went to London. How much amount was recovered? Ultimately, the money came out from my pocket, the common man, the Aam Aadmi. Forget for a moment that I am a renowned economist. I am an Aam Aadmi, I am a common man. It came from my pocket by way of recapitalization. My petrol became costlier, my diesel became costlier. The deficit was 3.5%. Now again, what happens is, would I get the money? Both main political parties are accusing each other. Now let me try to shift the focus of this debate with or without your permission. Now, can I request both the political parties, I hope both the representatives are there, one of my dear friends is sitting along with me, that can you get together for a change and tell us, make a joint action committee or a joint parliamentary committee, give us a deadline, because it's my money. You always talk about me, and I think perhaps my vote is important for you, and you always say that you care for me. BJP
Mr.
has that word,
Akash,
Janta.
I must say you are an optimist, one of a kind that I haven't met in so long. If you actually think Congress and BJP will get together and find a way out where they actually do something for the Aam Aadmi.
So just 10 seconds more. I at least would take this opportunity to ask them. Then let them not do it. But at least I would request them to have a joint action committee and give me a deadline that within 1 month or 2 months they are going to tell me that when is that dear 11,000 crore of mine going to get, how they are planning to, or they would just give me an interesting debate. Would they just keep on accusing, counter accusing each other?
Okay,
Because
I
that
actually
money
wanted
is
to
very,
go.
very
I actually
dear to
wanted to
me.
speak about the systemic issues first,
Yeah.
but since you've raised this topic, let's get two quick reactions from first the BJP and then the Congress party. Mr. Vaibhav Agarwal, there's a question for you.
Good evening, and to your viewers, and I appreciate Akash ji bringing this up. I think it is very right ideologically. This is the first time I'm debating with him, but ideologically, I would definitely concur with his thought process. And you know, it is a brilliant platform where for the first time in the history of independent India, we can all come together and work for the country. Doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter who rules the country. You know, it shouldn't matter whose government is in power at this time. But ideologically, I would say that certain conflicts of interests wouldn't allow both the parties to sit together and mull over this, because what are we doing? Ultimately, we are ultimately cleaning the last 65 years of system that has been created, whoever it has been. We've been participating to it, and Congress has been participating to it. There are other parties participating to it. So there's a larger issue on the hands of the current government, And yes, ideologically, I totally agree. There should be an
Okay, so let's
overhauling
begin
that
with
has
what
to be
the
there.
government
Cognizance of the
is
matter
could have
should
done.
be deeper in terms of
What are you doing to bring Nirav Modi back? We've shown now
Is doing.
to everybody that where he is hiding
okay.
in New York. When will you
So-
get him back?
Right. Sure. So Tanvi, this is a brilliant point. You know, if it was up to me and you, you know, if it was up to Faye, we would have gotten him yesterday as a citizen's arrest. You know, we all three are empowered to make a citizen's arrest. So we could we could get him in. However, he's out of the territory of country today, and there is a process of law that has been very speedily already undertaken. Look at the way the system is working right now.
Is there a non-bailable warrant against him?
31st of January, there is action happening. 1st of February, there is a lookout notice that has already been
1st of
done.
February.
I think-
After
I
the
think
whole
we
country.
we do-
1st of February, 1 month after he
First-
left the country.
Right.
What good is that lookout circular?
No, but you also have to appreciate that we are not in the American age of monitoring our citizens. I don't think we will ever get into that business. You know, we will not want to invade the privacy of our citizens. Thus, we cannot monitor individual citizens' movements. Please give that to us at least. You know, while the DRI and all
Vaibhav
the other
Agarwal, you and I can
agencies
go on and on
function,
about
we
this.
can
This is
definitely
not just
keep
any
those
citizen we are
representatives.
talking about. This is a citizen who had borrowed crores and crores of rupees from a state-owned bank. This is a citizen whose companies, multiple companies that he is linked with,
Yes, but
had
that was
defaulted on
brought
those
on
loans.
forth on the 29th of
Those loans.
January.
This is a citizen who had time and again sought more and more money.
Yeah.
This is a citizen who was not meeting the regulations. This is a citizen whose companies have been investigated by your government's authorities, by the market regulator. This is no Aam Aadmi.
Right.
Vijay Mallya flew out of the country, you couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Now he's gone out of
Sorry,
the country, you couldn't figure
I'm
it
sorry,
out. This
I'm
is
not-
an
I'm not
Aam
aware of
Aadmi.
standard.
I'm sorry, but Tanvi,
Yes.
Can I also speak?
Yes, but I'll let
Tanvi, I'm sorry, but I don't know which of my agency during the tenure of my government has investigated, which of the regulators have already investigated it before this came to fore. That is news to me. So I'm sorry, but please pardon me for my ignorance here.
Now,
but
Mohammed
I'll
Sir,
be
would
happy
you
to
want
get
to
corrected
respond
here.
to
Yes,
that?
uh,
How
so
many
far
red
to my
flags
knowledge,
were raised
till
and
29th
were
of
in the
January,
system?
Absolutely.
before 29th of January, we
Vaibhav,
haven't
if I may.
investigated it.
Yeah, Vaibhav. Let me begin by answering
Yes.
Mr. Jindal's question. Can we have
Yeah,
harmony?
please.
Can we have a solution together? If, of course, the BJP was led by people like my dear friend Vaibhav Agarwal, I'm sure we would have been able to find a solution. But Vaibhav is a rare commodity in the BJP. He is a sensitive man who listens to people. Unfortunately, the rest of the BJP, he is the exception to the rule in the BJP. You have seen the BJP's conduct towards us. You've seen how they treat us in parliament. You've seen how they keep us out of
Okay, let's come
decisions.
back to the
So
point. Let's
therefore,
not do this,
ultimately, the
Mr. Khan.
statesmanship hand has to be explained by them. Number two. Let's talk about what happened. Yesterday, your leaders, Vaibhav, came out and told us about the ED raids that had been conducted on him. Let me ask you, Karti Chidambaram has ED raids conducted on him and he has an LOC out at the same time. But this man has ED raids conducted on him by your admission last year. And yet there's no ED raid on him. Your leaders come out with a CBI complaint in a rare act of transparency. In that very same CBI complaint, the LOUs are dated during your tenures, 2016 and 17. Money kept being given to him under your watch. My question to you is this. When Tanvi asks you, how are you going to bring him back? Let me tell you. No, the lookout circular is much later. He is alerted to it. His entire family, please. Vaibhav, let me finish. I didn't interrupt you. Now, see, Tanvi, it is very clear his entire family is alerted. They leave as part of a design. 4 of them. उन्हें पहले से खबर हो गई थी. किसने खबर की? And this is part of a worrying trend. Lalit Modi is informed. Vijay Mallya in 2015 when he left, the LOC is there. It is suspended. And then he leaves and then it's reinstated. There is clearly connivance happening here, Vaibhav. This is happening on your government's watch. And finally this. Why do we ask questions?
No.
Ultimately,
I disagree
This
with
is a fact, Vaibhav. Facts. You are entitled to your opinion, but not to your own facts, as a very famous senator once said. But I want to say one last thing. In a democracy, we as the opposition would be failing in our job if we did not ask you these questions. We have asked you these questions, not so you can turn around and say, oh, 60 years ago this happened. You have to say what has happened.
Yeah,
you have to give answers for what has happened on your watch. And unfortunately, as Mr. Jindal pointed out,
Okay.
the last
Sure.
48 hours...
Vaibhav, you want to
Can I-
respond to
those
that and
answers.
then I move on to our other guests.
Can I
Just
take-
10
No,
seconds in
Mr.
between.
Jindal, please, let me just
Yes.
cover all the guests
Yes.
first and then I'll come back.
I'd like to do that. You know,
Yes, Vaibhav.
yeah. So I think I would only bring in just a small point. You know, two of the points that we've discussed at large in last 3 days since the story has broken out, and I was the one who ran this first on Times Now. So I want to ask two questions to you and to Congress. That A, Rahul Gandhi seen at Imperial, nobody denies it, in Nirav Modi's parties. B, 23rd September 2013, and I'm quoting here, please find me wrong if I'm there, he inaugurates an exhibition again after the Imperial Party. He inaugurates an exhibition of Nirav Modi, and 24th September, Mehul Choksi is at the door of Allahabad Bank, you know, asking for 50 crores. On the 25th September, when Dinesh Dubey says no, there is a fraud that has been highlighted for them and we shouldn't process the loan, the finance secretary calls Mr. Dubey and says, please put in your papers. Mr. Dubey had to put in his papers.
Mr. Dubey, just for the information of our viewers, was the nominee director of the government on the board of the bank, who had raised, who claims he raised the red flag, but that was ignored. Yes, there is a specific allegation, so I will have to give Mohammed Khan to respond to this.
I'm going to make a point.
That was not the point?
Just a point. That 60% of the bank is owned by the government. 60% of the bank is owned by the government. 57% is owned by this present government right now. And do not forget that Punjab National Bank was the bank, is the bank, who also had maximum exposure to Vijay Mallya.
I have a great disagreement here. No, there's a disagreement. As an economist, I have to make a point.
1 minute, let him respond to the Congress charge.
I'll just take 30 seconds.
Because this is very important to the larger conversation we are doing. Not just one political party, but the successive governments have allowed this to fester.
I have to answer that 57%
I will say 3 things to you very, very quickly. Number 1, you raised the allegation that Rahul Gandhi ji went to place X, Y and Z. There is only one person, and when you said Times Now, I know exactly who that person is, a disgruntled former congressman who is making these claims. Nobody else has made these claims. If you have evidence, please come out with it. Of course, it's ludicrous. Number 2, you spoke about these people being removed during the Congress era. Then why does the CBI complaint not mention that?
His brother,
the CBI
his
complaint
brother, your colleague in Congress.
No, I'm sorry. Listen to me, Vaibhav.
He agreed on
Vaibhav, I didn't interrupt you. Come on, let me finish.
This can't be between both of you, gentlemen. The fact is that the political parties of our country have allowed this to fester for too long.
Let me just say one last
thing.
Do
you have facts to deny what the former nominee director of the Allahabad Bank is claiming?
Absolutely. Listen, and I'll go one step further. On your show, I challenge Vaibhav and his colleagues in the BJP. Take action against the Congress if you can find an iota of wrongdoing. Why does this not find mention in the CBI complaint, which you produced evidence in front of? So either you were lackadaisical then, or this has been manufactured as an afterthought, like all your other facts.
Okay, let me go on to our other two panelists. Let me go on to our other two panelists. Mr. Gupta, thank you for patiently waiting by, but I just want to first quickly go to Hemendra Hazari and speak to and get his view. Mr. Hazari, it's no secret really how in many cases these loans are actually given out to specific sectors, even to specific companies. When there is an indication from those in power, these loans have been given out, not now, but for years. This mess that our state banks are in is because often it's not the due diligence that results in these loans being given out, is it? So, no one political party should be able to claim any kind of, higher moral ground here.
See, in our economy, we have a corporate, business, bureaucrat and media nexus. All of them breed onto each other. It's a highly incestuous relationship. And part of that incestuous relationship is that the political class and the bureaucrat tie up with the business, to see that the banking sector gives loans to them. And the media also contributes. Today in the media, it's extremely difficult to do any large critical story on any of the big corporates. So when they are doing such thing, it is the role of the media to highlight this. But unfortunately, the media's role has been an abysmal failure, as it has been with the political class, with the bureaucrats and with business. See, this is the whole problem today which no one likes to talk about. There is this nexus going on, and whichever political party is in power, they all do the same thing. See, in our particular case, the Congress has created these scams and the BJP has given them a green channel with a minimum, you can have, if you have done a 5,000 crore minimum scam, you can get away scot-free from our green channel. So this is the sad position of our country today. Everyone is there to loot the country. And then we all say we are there for the minority shareholder. We say we are there for the common man. Actually, nobody really cares for them at all.
Absolutely. Mr. Gupta, why is it so brazen that so many of these stories happen every now and then where the rich suck the money out of the system that the Aam Aadmi has to pay up for, and there is never any action? In how many of the default cases have we actually seen money being recovered, somebody's family jewels being sold out, and people and company owners, promoters being put behind bars?
Tanvi, to answer this question, I have a question that is there any disincentive in this country for financial fraud? How many people you have caught and how much money you have recovered which they have siphoned off from various companies? So when you have no disincentive, then there is an incentive for doing fraud, because you can say that you do the fraud, siphon off the money and live in a posh life. That is one. My question, and I would ask these two panelists who are from the Congress party and BJP, I would say, for some time, please stop believing that you are from two different parties. Become citizen of this country and think from the notion of a citizen of this country. Whose money is this? It is neither BJP's money, not Congress money. It is money of citizens of this country. So don't make it an election issue. Don't make it as a tutu meme issue. Come to the crux of the problem. The problem is very simple. In our banks, we have forgotten what is logic. Our lending system has become illogical. I was looking at Gitanjali Gems' annual report of last year. And you know how many banks are lender to that company? 32 banks. And of those 32 banks, 20 are all public sector banks, then few small private sector banks, one foreign bank, and in the private sector, the big bank is ICICI and IndusInd Bank. Now, when you look at an annual report like this, you certainly feel that something is wrong. Why I would know it 32 banks first, and why no big private sector bank is my lender? So that first question. Then 85% of its sales are logged in debtors. Now, what type of business I am doing when I sell for 100 rupees and 85 doesn't come back to me? No logic is what is happening over a period of time. There is too much money in the system and too little youth. So it is a easy money policy, and it becomes further easy when you don't have to repay it, because somebody is ready to take over the loan with much more cushion. Now, why all this has happened? First, I would say there is no way this fraud could have happened without connivance, and connivance is there. Second is a system failure. And third, the absence of absolute logic. I have been a banker myself. Now, when any borrower comes to me with some unusual request, I would be suspicious.
So
now,
tell me, Mr. Gupta, you've had a look at the numbers, at the balance sheet, at the records of Gitanjali Gems. Tell me, if any banker with any rational mind would actually be giving them any kind of extension or loan in the past few years, why has this gone on? Anybody who looks at the numbers will know that there is something that's going on. How can it still continue?
So that is the question I am raising. I would, as a banker, would not touch this balance sheet.
Yeah.
Because if my 85% sales are not coming back to me in cash, what I am doing?
Absolutely. Mr. Gopalan wants to come in here. Yes, Mr.
Hello.
Gopalan, you wanted to add something to that?
Yeah, I wanted to add to what Mr. Gupta said. First of all, there is delegation of a wrong kind which was happening in that particular branch. Supervision of the transactions was missing. Then system failure, as Mr. Gupta says, was there. There was connivance, possibly a connivance, and that has contributed to all this mess. But let me tell you, I point out from the Financial Stability Report, there has been total frauds, loan frauds, I mean, indicated in that, out of which Punjab National Bank tops the list of banks which reported loan frauds of the higher amount. Now, why has this happened? There is an analysis which says that banks do not do continuous monitoring of cash flows and cash profits. Second, they do not monitor diversion of funds. And in some cases, maybe in this case, there could be double financing taking place with different banks. And on top of all the things, the general credit governance leaves much to be desired.
You say
in
they
banks,
do not monitor
especially in public sector banks.
Then who's supposed to monitor these transactions, Mr. Gopalan? Do we have a strong financial intelligence unit that's actually doing
These
its
are to
job?
be monitored.
Yes, Vaibhav Agarwal, coming to you next. Yes, Mr. Gopalan.
Yes, on this,
See,
Tanvi,
this has
I
got to
wanted
be
to make a
monitored
point.
by the branch, by the banking system itself. They are going to monitor all this. It is not that somebody from outside will do it.
Yes. Yes, okay, Vaibhav Agarwal.
When you give loan to a particular person, you're going to
Tanvi,
monitor.
I wanted to make a point.
Okay, yes, Mr. Gupta.
Yeah, Tanvi, I want to say very simply, there is a word over in the banking system, there is a
SEBI,
standardized transaction which is accepted and which is recommended by International Chamber of Commerce, that is
under UPA,
letter of credit
any
through
other body,
UCPDC route.
You know, the scam hasn't happened in one day.
Yes, Mr. Gupta, go on, please. I'll go to Vaibhav Agarwal in just a minute.
I think we are having a discussion. Yeah, so I'm saying any customer, when it comes to me and asks me for something which is not in the usual, I would be very suspicious. So the first question that the banker would have asked you, why you want letter of undertaking, why not normal letter of credit?
Yeah.
Second, the letter of undertaking, even that in today's world is transmitted through SWIFT messages. Now, there is a requirement that every day the SWIFT message should be scanned by the head of the branch. Now, if that was done, it would have been caught. And the most important thing is this, that when the renewal was happening, what was happening, and now when the auditors come, there are 4 types of auditor: concurrent auditor, internal auditor, statutory auditor, and RBI auditor. Now, how it is possible that nobody noticed this? This is the question which everybody needs to answer. Now, the other question is very simply, which I was reading some newspaper report and this TV channel, that one of the directors of Allahabad Bank had raised this question.
Yes.
Now, that person had written mail to the Deputy Governor of RBI, Mr. K.C. Chakravarti, as well.
Yes.
Now, I really do not know what is happening.
Yes, he is written to the at that time the finance secretary. He has written to the RBI and it was actually marked to Mr. K.C. Chakravarti. We tried reaching out to him for a response as well. So in 2013 there was the banker who said, no, I will not give more loans. That voice was overruled allegedly, and in 2016 there was a whistleblower who again came out and said, don't give them more loans, find out what is happening. That voice was also ignored, once by the Congress party, once by the BJP, which is why I keep coming back to the point that this is a systemic problem that has gone on for far too long. Vaibhav Agarwal, you wanted to respond to what Mr. Gopalan was saying earlier. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Yes. I think this is excellent,
Tanvi,
and without
I would say
having
one more
any
thing,
distaste
that
or
this
disrespect for
problem-
my learned colleague.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Gupta, let Vaibhav respond to what you both have raised.
Right. So
Sure.
without having any distaste for my learned colleague from Congress, I would like to point this out, that while we are not shirking from our responsibility in terms of taking action, and we are taking action as and when it has been brought to our notice, and we will ensure that the taxpayers' money comes back to the country. However, I would like to point this out, that between 2011 and 2014, there have been multiple instances where complaints have been raised, frauds have been flagged with RBI, etc., etc. Now, the point to be noted here is, while we've already seen that 60% of the bank is owned by the government, that means the government has a say in its management, in its audit, in its everything. We also need to see it at a macro level, where why is this a UPA Ghotala? Because it is RBI, the regulator under the UPA, SEBI, the regulator under the UPA, the DRI, which is Department of Revenue Intelligence, under the UPA, any other enforcement body under the UPA. I mean, how should we even counter this? Just because we are in power right now, we are at the governance front, we are taking the hit of absolutely being cornered into something that...
No, actually, you are not taking the hit, Mr. Agarwal. You are not taking the hit. We are taking the hit.
I am taking
we,
the hit,
the common
Agarwal
man. Akash Jindal is going to be taking the hit. Every single viewer watching this will be taking a hit. Everybody who is paying taxes is going to have to pay for it. You are not taking the hit, sir, at all. You did not take any hit when Vijay Mallya got out. You aren't going to take any for this.
I am a taxpayer as well. I am part of India before I am part of BJP.
Akash Jindal and then Mohammad Khan, please.
Yeah. See, Vaibhavji, I want to make a point. Firstly, let me...
One moment, please.
Firstly, let me thank you.
One moment, Akashji.
Just a moment, my dear friend. I am the people.
The people. The responsibility.
The Republic is for the people, by the people. So let the people speak.
Akashji.
Okay. So now, firstly, let me thank you.
I
want to thank you, sir.
But the only point I'm saying, one moment,
please allow.
One moment.
You are Bharatiya Janata
Let him
Party.
finish the point. Let him finish the point.
Let the Janta speak.
He's the only one here who has to take on all the charges and allegations and questions. So let him finish his point. Yes, Vaibhav Agarwal.
So, thank you. So I've already, and to the respectable panel, I've already taken responsibility very humbly. But I also assure and commit to people with your channel and to Akashji and to myself, I'm a taxpayer as well, that we will ensure that the money does not go wasted. We will ensure that people, scamsters like Mr. Modi, like Nirav Modi, comes back and face the consequences and give a reply to the people of India.
Okay, we are waiting for that. We are waiting for that. We don't know how many years that will take, Vaibhav Agarwal. But I am going to archive this comment of yours and this assurance of yours, and we are going to hound you every few months to ask you this question. So remember that, Mr. Gopalan. I'll come to you in just a bit. But Akash Jindal, what do you want to say?
Firstly, let me thank you, Vaibhavji, for accepting my demand. You have assured, you have guaranteed us that you will get the money back. Okay. Now, I would appreciate when my friend Aditi says that it should be recorded and ultimately you should be asked. Now, I would request you with all humility, give us a timeline for that. You are going to rule me. For you are not an ordinary taxpayer. You are ruling me. So you
is there a timeline, Vaibhav Agarwal?
Yeah, you are going to rule me for another 14 months.
I'm not going to rule you. I'm
6 months, 8 months, 10 months, 12 months. Don't give me a infinite time and don't give me a deadline beyond 14 months. Now allow me to speak. Allow me to speak. I'm the Janta. Allow me to speak, please. Now give me a deadline. Don't give me an infinite deadline. 8 months, 10 months, 12 months, 14 months. I won't question you, but please give me a deadline. Now I tried doing something impossible. Tried requesting both of you to get together and give me a deadline. Aditi told me that I am trying impossible, and she sorry, very sorry. So Tanvi told me that I was trying something impossible and she was proven right and I was proven wrong. Okay, but at least now you are ruling me. Give me a deadline. By which
deadline quickly, Mr. Vaibhav Agarwal. I have too many points to cover, Akash Jindal. I have to move on fast now.
As of now, it's correct.
Is there a timeline? Yes or no, Vaibhav Agarwal? It's just a yes or no answer.
Right.
What is the timeline?
So yes, my humble submission, and point taken, Mr. Jindal. My humble submission to this subject is that we are not interested to politicize our taxpayers' money. It is expensive.
You're not getting an answer.
It is very expensive.
You're not getting an answer. You're not getting a timeline.
And we're trying a level best to fix the
Mohammad
system.
Khan, quickly, please.
However, give me a minute. Give me a minute.
I do not have time.
Excuse myself
for
in 2 minutes.
I do not have time for some rhetorics. I have more questions before you leave this show.
I am excusing myself because I have to move on to another channel.
Yes, so let me ask this question.
I have also asked these questions.
Yeah, I have to go to another channel.
If you have to leave, Vaibhav, then can I quickly make the following points? Vaibhav, I am adding my point to what my colleague said before me. You and your spokespersons who've been on channels yesterday, your cabinet ministers, nobody has given a roadmap. Kadi ninda zarur ki hai, kadi se kadi saza denge, but no one has provided a roadmap for the way forward. Number two, Tanvi, remember you asked yesterday, how many such scams are waiting to happen?
Yes.
You have the detection measures you have so proudly put in place over the last 4 years have failed. So you clearly need to introspect about how to make the system stronger, and you need to unearth more of these. Finally, I have absolutely zero confidence in your ability to bring this gentleman back. Wo chala gaya, wo chala gaya.
totally agree
Over
with
3 years, 3 years, 3 people have left under your watch. None of them are back yet. Malia left 3 years ago, remember.
Okay,
So I'm sorry.
Question, you missed
Your
the question.
record is terrible. Please,
We will
you
get
have
him back.
14 months left. Please start governing and stop doing this jumle.
Okay, Vaibhav Agarwal, thank you for joining. You have to move on now, but I'm going to
don't
get
have
back to
14
the
months,
topic,
we have-
and I wish you could be part of this,
Thank
because
you.
this is the important part that the government and the BJP needs to be aware of. This is the part where we talk about a possibility of a larger scam and we get our experts to come in. I have with me in my hands the copy of the second CBI FIR that goes into details of what really happened, the modus operandi with regard to the FLCs, that is the foreign letters of credit, is that they were opened initially for smaller amounts for creating purported entries in the core banking system. So initially it was registered in the core banking system, and the relevant foreign letters of credit were sent through SWIFT messages. Then the bank officials, pursuant to the conspiracy, unauthorizedly and dishonestly enhanced the value of these credit letters manyfold and issued amendments through that parallel system, bypassing the core banking system. My question to Hemendra Hazari and then to Mr. Gopalan and Jane Gupta, is there a possibility that this has been done elsewhere as well? That the systems are not really integrated, Hemendra Hazari? We've had foreign letters of credit issues, not just with this company. Winsome Diamonds is still under investigation, though that was a different kind of a case.
See, even if your systems are not integrated, basic banking dictates at the end of the day you download what is not integrated and you try to reconcile it and you audit it. Now that is very basic banking. You do not require an integrated system. So even if your system is not integrated, this is what you do and which should have been done. This very clearly has not been done. Now we do not know whether it was just an oversight or it was deliberate. Because at this moment we always believe that these are only low-level employees. Now typically how does a fraudster work? He will first do genuine transactions, therefore, he will give confidence to everybody around him, and that's when, he starts doing all the big, fraud kind of activities. This is typically the way any fraudster, any scamster works. Initial transactions are always genuine, they always paid back, there are no discrepancies. And then when you have the confidence of that person, that's when you start doing the big scams and you start taking out the malai. So the whole system really has to see in banking, every globally also frauds happen. That is the way that if you have a person with a criminal bent of mind, he's going to try to do it. Now your systems have to be put in place to make it for the person extremely difficult for such a thing to be done. But in this case, very clearly, this was not done.
But that is clearly not happening here, Mr. Jain Gupta. In a case of a company that is actually transacting across multiple countries, I'm actually going through the list, and this is just for 2018, and there are banks from Southeast Asia to Europe which are listed here where the transactions were taking place. Do our systems have the capabilities to keep a track, to check? Do our investigators, will the ED, Enforcement Directorate or CBI ever end up solving this maze? Yes, Mr. Gopalan, coming to you next. I want to hear your views as well. But Jane Gupta first, please.
Yeah.
Okay, Tanvi, I would say that when I was a banker, it was all physical banking, all physical document. Even then, this type of fraud was not possible unless there was a connivance of many people. Because either the transaction will get reflected in money or something, there will be debit in nostro account and all other things. In today's time, when everything moves through the SWIFT, somewhere or other this will have to be noticed, unless until everybody decided to close his eyes from top to the bottom. And what was the reason? I do not know. But very simply, if there are 20 people or 10 people involved, there has to be some connivance. Without that, it is not possible. The second thing is this, that again I am questioning that we have given the logic a go by. The question that has to be asked, why you want LOU, why you do not want LC?
Yes.
That is the first question I would have asked, and I would have known that there is something wrong. That is the, and the other side of the thing, that the banks abroad, they would have also asked the question, but the problem was that all of them were the same public sector banks. So that means somewhere or other, something is wrong in the system, and I again and again saying, Tanvi, these political parties will not get a solution. The solution will come if the Chief Justice of India or Law Ministry decides that the financial crimes have to be given priority for investigation, and 6 months is the maximum time when the judgment on financial crime should come. Otherwise, what happens? The proceeds of the crime gets frittered away here, there and everywhere, and you chase a ghost after 20, 40, 25 years.
Otherwise, big company promoters, Mr. Gupta, will keep getting away with it. I don't know, I can't recollect any name except maybe Subrata Roy Sara, who had to go behind bars. Anybody has actually done that. No kind of money recovery has happened. The promoters have gotten scot-free, and people keep paying for it. And we are being asked to pay more and more year after year. Mr. Gopalan wanted to come in. Akash Jindal, coming to you after that.
Yeah. See,
now, one minute. Let Mr. Gopalan finish first. Yes.
Tanvi.
Yes, sir.
Tanvi, a couple of points. One is that of the audits which are done, 4 audits which are being done, how many of these audits have audited the system functioning in the branch? If they had not audited the system, how it is functioning, whether it takes into account all transactions, then that audit is not a correct audit. This is number one. Number two, I want this to be used as an occasion in all other banks to see where gaps have been noticed in systems and try to find out whether any hanky-panky has taken place on account of this default in the system, and try and see how those things can be retrieved as quickly as possible. Number three, I want this, as Mr. Gupta said, these kind of crimes, financial crimes, the money just evaporates. So there should be a quick kind of a punishment, with the courts must give priority to these kind of crimes and try and get the people, whoever the culprits, punished as quickly as possible.
Is there even a close, monitoring unit, intelligence unit that works? Yes, Mr. Gopalan, let me take this question across to Akash Jindal. How strong is the financial intelligence unit? You have a very strong system that seems to be scrutinizing your and my transactions.
Tanvi, that's where I wanted to come in. Now, it's a very interesting point, Tanvi, which you have raised.
Tanvi,
what happens is,
have a word about this.
I, Akash Jindal,
coming back to you, Mr. Gopalan, in just a bit.
Go to a bank to borrow 10 lakh rupees for housing finance, which is the government's priority, and I want to borrow only 10 lakh rupees. First possible objection would be, my property is not in the authorized approved list of properties of the bank. Second objection could be, the title is not 100% clear. Third could be that there is perhaps some unauthorized construction in that. Okay, after clearing all those formalities, those issues, then what would happen is at least 10 people would scrutinize my file, have objections, I'll raise the objection, then my agent would tell me, throw a party because your loan has been sanctioned, and after 4 years of paying all the installments, in case one check unfortunately bounced, I know what life would be for me. Recovery agents would be there, lots of things would happen, but in this case it's a clear systematic failure and intelligence failure also. 11,000 crore rupees systems audit. First of all, audit is there in the banks every 3 months, every 1 year. Why wasn't there a systems audit? That's what I have been asking. People are very conveniently saying it is a systemic failure. We know of this concept called systems audit. It's a very old concept. Why was the system audit not taking place? Why is it? Every channel keeps on saying it was not CBS, it was the other way. Why was the system audit not taking place when the amount was that huge?
Yes, and here is the problem. Apparently, the same set of employees were doing this job for year after year. The rules say that the employees cannot be on this role for more than 6 months. But that wasn't being followed, and nobody raised a red flag. At every stage, rules have been broken. But what do you care when it's a fashionable, famous designer and his uncle's large empire of Gitanjali gems with biggest of the Bollywood celebrities on their payrolls doing their ads, and what do you care? Mohammad Khan, then somebody asks you, you put in a word and get the loans done.
Actually, that's a good point, and I want to make 2 points in response. First is, I was reading what farmers leaders like Mr. Yogendra Yadav and Devendra Sharma ji have been saying, and it puts it in stark context, the depravity of this crime. And I think Jindal Saab was also raising this point earlier. When a farmer takes a loan of 1 lakh or 2 lakhs, he's hounded to the point that he commits suicide.
Yes, 12,000 suicides annually.
Exactly,
in this
annually. A
country
46% increase in farmer suicide since 2014. And look at this. And this gentleman doesn't. So clearly there are two different standards. In the words of Devendra Sharma, there is capitalism for the farmers, but socialism for the very rich. This is something that this government, this is why we call them a suit boot ki sarkar, has failed to remedy. And before Tanvi, you say to me, aapne kya kiya? Let me remind you, Satyam, CWG, 2G, all of them. I can give you a list of 10 people we released today, corporate captains of industry who we proceeded against, put in jail, who
Mr.
turned
Mohammad
against us.
Khan, repeatedly for any of these default cases, the matter that has come in is that your government, when it was in power, had a very soft stand, kept on giving them extensions and extensions and extensions in loan, kept on giving them additional loans. Who did not know that Vijay Mallya and his airline was in a big trouble? A year and two before it went down.
I have the answer to that.
Did you get the money back in any of the scams? No.
Let me tell you something. No.
Just allow me. I have to interrupt.
No, you can't interrupt when he asks me a
At
question.
least allow him to finish answer my question, then you can ask him your question.
Have you got my money back in any of these scams?
Listen to me.
It was my money.
I will tell you, 10 different scams. The people were caught, prosecuted, went to jail. It took them years to be exonerated. Adarsh, you blamed a sitting chief minister. What did the Congress government do? Jairam Rameshji cancelled the license for that. They had to go to court. All the proceedings that began under the UPA saw fruition. These people have done nothing. We stand by our record. Number two, I want to say one very important thing. Look, you keep asking us to give an account. We are happy to give an account. We've read the CBI complaint. These facts that have been manufactured in the last 24 hours, why did neither PNB or the government's SFIO raise these in the CBI complaint? Are these facts immaterial or were they not pressing enough? That is the point we are raising, Tanvi. If you find even an
iota of
That's not the
answer to my question. That's not the answer to my question. I asked you who did not know in this country 2 years before Kingfisher went under that it is in a big trouble, who still went on giving it loans.
Why is the Kingfisher scam
Who did not know?
I'll tell you why you can't.
Who keeps a track of this industry? Like Hemendra Hazari says, everybody has repeatedly reported on Gitanjali gems defaulting, asking for extensions, getting more loans, asking for more extensions, defaulting on their bond repayments, SEBI notices on trading.
Congress or its leaders.
My dear friend, in which case did you get my money back? Please tell me, in which case did you get my money back?
No, the CEO was caught.
No, my money. I am talking about my money. Did you get my?
All that you conveniently forget. I am sorry. You are wrong. Taking a politically convenient stand. Sorry, sir.
Answer my question.
I'm sorry. I've answered your question.
You don't need to yell.
Did you get my money back?
I'm not going to have this kind of yelling on my show, please. Especially not when you're both sitting next to each other. Akash, Jindal, you have a point. Make it clearly so that I can move on to our other panelists. Yes.
My point is very simple. Did my dear friend get my money back? Did his government in all the scams which happened? In one of the scams, my money. Did they get it back to the exchequer? Did they get me my money back? Because of that,
So Jindal
you got booted out of power before you could do that.
So Jindal Sahab, no. Actually, I'll frame that in a different way. If you did not repose confidence in us, I feel the Congress did more than any other government before it. But if you did not repose faith in us, the people voted us out. They brought in this sarkar with the expectation that they would resolve. They failed.
Not here to take on your jibes. Mr. Jain Gupta, last word to you as I wrap up this debate. Yes, Mr. Gupta.
Tanvi, in this political match, nobody will get beaten up except the umpire. So we are not going to get anywhere. The only issue, again, I am requesting these two political parties that we understand your compulsions.
I am
that
not
you have
from
to
a
fight
political
election
party,
after
sir.
election.
I am an
please
economist.
don't fight election at our cost.
Yes.
We are citizens of this country. We have lost money.
No, I think we
Please
need to start
don't
making
fight
it
on
very
that
clear,
issue.
Mr. Gupta and Mr. Gopalan, and to all our other panelists. I think we as the citizens need to start making this clear. We are not going to bail out any of these big guns anymore. It isn't happening. If you have allowed a fraud to happen in your time, then you find the money and you deal with it. Do not take away the taxpayers' money anymore. For those who are actually thinking of bringing in a bail-in clause and even considering it as an idea to dip into our savings to bail out these
Tanvi,
chores,
there I would have a little
there has to
disagreement.
be a campaign. Okay, Mr. Gupta, I'm completely out of time, but you and I will have a separate debate. And Mr. Gopalan, I'll call you as well on the bail-in clause.
Tanvi,
Completely out of
Tanvi,
debate.
I have a point.
On this, completely
point.
out of time. Think of this, 12,000 suicides, farmer suicides every year in this country since 2013, viewers. Only because they are unable to pay their debt of 4 to 5 lakh, they don't have money to eat food and we can't help them. Think of this. Those who actually get any kind of waiver from the government get rupees 150, 200, 30 rupees as a joke. While the likes of Nirav Modi's and Vijay Mallya get away with 8,000 crore, 11,000 crore, 15,000 crore and nobody does anything about it. Let's start raising our voices until this difference gets resolved. Thank you to all our panelists for joining us tonight.